What happens when a Chinese spy ship gets too close to a US aircraft carrier? When an unknown vessel appears on the radar, the crew acts fast.
The United States Navy, with its formidable fleet of aircraft carriers and advanced technology,
Spy ships are high-tech vessels designed to eavesdrop, track movements, and gather intelligence.
In the height of an election campaign, this high-tech Chinese surveillance ships arrived off the West Australian coast.
The first step is identifying the ship using binoculars and attempting contact. Meanwhile, the captain gets notified, and the crew prepares for action.
the bridge is where the captain sits, along with the navigator and all of the officers on the deck, and the rest of the watch team, charged with steering the ship and staying away from hazards.
As the ship approaches, the team sets up defenses, using electronic warfare to jam signals and disrupt surveillance, all while keeping their own systems secure. Specialists coordinate with nearby ships using secure communication to stay ahead. Tensions can rise, but the crew sticks to rules of engagement, only responding in self-defense to avoid escalation. They also follow international laws under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which governs navigation and maritime activities globally. The high seas are a free zone where any country can sail, fish, and lay cables as long as they respect the rules. Closer to the shore, the exclusive economic zone gives nations control over marine resources. Within these zones, the coastal nation is in charge. They decide who can fish, drill for oil, or set up operations. Military activity, however, is a big no-no in the EEZ. Now, let's talk about innocent passage. It's like passing through someone else's neighborhood, totally fine as long as you don't cause trouble. Ships, even warships, can move through a country's territorial waters within 12 nautical miles of the coast as long as they keep things peaceful, no military drills or spying allowed. But managing all this isn't easy. The ocean is massive, and being a sea cop is no simple task. Plus, rules like the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea only work if countries follow them, which isn't always true. A perfect example is the South China Sea. It's a hotspot for disputes, with China claiming large portions and ignoring international rules, creating tensions with neighbors like the Philippines and Vietnam.
Conducting what it considers as a patrol around Scarborough Shoal on Sunday morning, December 29, according to a West Philippine Sea monitor.
Add Chinese spy ships tailing US and allied vessels into the mix, and things get even trickier. These ships might not break any laws outright, but they don't make life easy for anyone. So what happens when a US aircraft carrier spots a Chinese spy ship tailing it in international waters? The first step is that the US Navy uses advanced systems to contact the spy ship, sending a simple message. This is a US Navy vessel conducting routine operations in international waters. We request you maintain a safe distance. This sets the tone, clarifies intentions, and avoids misunderstandings. Next, safety is a top priority. The US Navy sticks to international rules about maintaining safe distances between vessels, ensuring there's no risk of collision or accidents. Both ships can then continue their lawful activities without interference. At the same time, the US Navy doesn't miss a beat in monitoring the spy ship. Using cutting-edge radar and electronic intelligence tools, they track every move the vessel makes. This helps the Navy stay aware of the situation and understand the intentions of the spy vessel. This surveillance is conducted within the limits of international law, ensuring it doesn't escalate into harassment or provocation. The presence of a spy ship, while frustrating, doesn't deter the US Navy from its mission. Changing course or backing down in response would send the wrong signal. Whether they're conducting freedom of navigation operations, joint exercises with allies, or routine patrols, the Navy remains focused on its objectives, maintaining professionalism and composure. To manage tensions, the US Navy may even publicly acknowledge the presence of a spy ship. Press releases or social media updates help ensure transparency, preventing misinformation and calming any public concerns. It's a way to de-escalate without compromising their stance. When operating alongside allied vessels, teamwork becomes critical. Coordination and communication among ships strengthen their response, ensuring a united front in maintaining freedom of navigation and adhering to international law. This collaboration showcases the resolve and professionalism of the US Navy and its allies in the face of such challenges. Maintaining professionalism in the face of potential intimidation is a rigorous task, demanding constant vigilance and a high level of discipline. The appearance of a Chinese spy ship might be seen as an attempt to disrupt operations or gather sensitive data. However, US Navy personnel are trained to stay calm, collected, and focused on their tasks. Reacting with anger or frustration would likely escalate the situation. Instead, professionalism sends a clear message. The US Navy is resolute and will not be swayed from performing its lawful duties. Now, let's pause for a moment. How do you handle stressful situations? Drop your strategies in the comments below. The standoff between the US aircraft carrier and the Chinese spy ship isn't isolated. It's part of a larger, more complicated scenario involving a delicate balance of power in the region. The South China Sea has emerged as a major flashpoint between the US and China, with China claiming large areas as its own. This dispute sets the stage for a volatile environment where even routine operations can become charged with significance.
Or the western section of the country inside its 200-mile exclusive economic zone. In 2012, Manila and Beijing engaged in a tense standoff over Panatag Shoal, which ended with Manila withdrawing its ships, allowing Beijing to establish effective control over the shoal's lagoon to this day.
Both nations have been ramping up their military capabilities. The US continues to assert its presence through the powerful 7th Fleet, which includes aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers, and submarines. China, meanwhile, has significantly modernized its navy, adding advanced warships and expanding its reach. This military buildup on both sides fuels a climate of suspicion and mistrust, making close encounters between their vessels particularly tense. In such a charged atmosphere, the US and China are walking a fine line. Both are committed to maintaining freedom of navigation and respecting international laws, yet they must carefully avoid actions that might be seen as provocative or could unintentionally lead to conflict. Achieving this balance involves asserting their rights while also actively working to de-escalate any tensions. The encounters at sea are not random incidents, but symptoms of broader geopolitical issues. This is where diplomacy plays a crucial role. Engaging in collaborative efforts on non-confrontational fronts like disaster relief, scientific research, and environmental protection can foster trust and mutual understanding. These cooperative endeavors not only highlight the benefits of working together, but also create a more favorable environment for resolving disputes in the South China Sea. This approach demonstrates that even in regions of conflict, diplomacy can pave the way for more stable and peaceful interactions. A simple encounter between a US aircraft carrier and a Chinese spy ship in the South China Sea can ripple out into significant geopolitical effects. These frequent standoffs increase the risk of misunderstandings or mistakes, like a misread move or technical error, that could escalate into a conflict, especially with both sides armed with advanced weaponry. These rising tensions don't just affect the US and China. Neighboring countries feel the pressure to pick sides, potentially damaging alliances and partnerships. This creates a fragile regional environment where even minor incidents could pull other nations into the fray.
Within 150 yards of the bow of the American ship in what Pentagon officials are calling an unsafe manner. This all happened off the coast of Taiwan, a self-governing island that China claims as part of its territory.
Economically, the stakes are huge. The South China Sea is a critical global trade route, with about 1/3 of the world's crude oil passing through. Disrupted shipping lanes could drive up costs for goods worldwide. Countries with untapped resources like oil, gas, and fisheries also hesitate to invest in exploration, fearing retaliation, leaving the region's economic growth at a standstill. Freedom of navigation, a key principle for the US, is also on the line. China's assertiveness in claiming vast areas of the South China Sea challenges the US stance and could set a dangerous precedent, encouraging restrictions in other international waters. This confrontation is more than just a regional power play. It's a test of both nations' resolve and strategies. A US retreat could embolden China, while strong pushback might lead to more intense standoffs. What's the solution? Diplomacy and adherence to international laws are crucial. Open communication between the US and China can help prevent misunderstandings, and regional organizations like the Association of Southeast Asian Nations could foster dialogue and cooperation. At its core, maintaining peace in the South China Sea depends on all parties respecting international rules, resolving disputes peacefully, and avoiding actions that heighten tensions. So what do you think? Could this recent US-China naval encounter lead to bigger consequences? Share your thoughts in the comments below.